I'm Daniela Cambone, and welcome back to StansberryInvestor.com Summer Series. And my guest today is a Wall Street executive who has had tremendous success in both the precious metals world and the cryptocurrency one. Please welcome back to the show, Miguel Vias. Miguel, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Daniela, it is always a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I always say you're like that perfect hybrid, and we're going to talk about both worlds today. But I want to start by getting your thoughts on Wall Street and what it seems as embracing more and more cryptocurrency. We've seen, the headlines, JP Morgan, PayPal, Square, but now the latest, there's talk that Amazon may start accepting Bitcoin. There's State Street. So my question to you is, what do you make of a Wall Street warming up to cryptocurrencies when not too long ago they were persona or item non grata?
Yeah, it is interesting how the winds have changed. Yeah, to me it feels like it was an inevitability. The crypto has grown so fast. These are for-profit businesses that deal in finance. They can't ignore it. Right? When you have a company like Coinbase, we started in 2011, 2012, whenever Coinbase was launched. And in 10 years to grow into a $100 billion behemoth, I mean, how do you, as a profit-seeking financial institution, ignore that, right? You're clearly leaving money on the table. So I don't think they have a choice.
Right. So do you think it's interesting because, like I said at the start, you've also worked in the precious metals world. Do you find it interesting that Wall Street had never really warmed up to gold, yet they seem to really be embracing cryptos at a very fast pace here? And like you said, I know they're preparing for the future and for the new clients entering, but there was never that acceptance of gold.
Yeah, I mean, gold is such an interesting market, has such a deep history. I think for a long time, the financial sector was held back by gold pegs. So I'm not terribly surprised that traditional finance wouldn't basically, jump into gold kind of in the way maybe they wouldn't to some other things, because for a long time, that's the thing that kept FX kind of at bay, right? It wasn't until we depegged from gold completely, and you get Bretton Woods too, where all of a sudden now you have all of this FX trading. So I don't know. I do feel like they're a little bit, apples to oranges. Oh, crypto is a technology. I think sometimes folks forget that. And there's a lot to be gleaned from these technologies, these open protocols. So unlike gold, which is a natural element, and a little different in that respect, I do think there's an excitement around crypto that is somewhat akin to, and Jerry Brittle, the CEO of Coin Center, was on the Hill the other day talking about this, akin to the internet, right? These are open standards. These are open protocols, much in the same way the internet was early on. So I think there's more excitement around something like crypto because I think it has a kind of a broader possibility set.
Now, here's why I love talking to you, because you're like the insider to the insider to the insider, and you keep me up to date about all the really cool things that are happening in the cryptocurrency world that I can't even fathom. It's so beyond and bigger than anything I could have imagined. But let's talk about the regulatory scenario. How will this change the landscape going forward here, Miguel?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's a coincidence that you're watching traditional Wall Street, traditional companies kind of lean into crypto as regulations are coming, right? There's a certain risk reward here. And I think for a while on Wall Street, folks were like, well, this seems like all risk and an unknown reward. The reward now has seemingly gotten clearer. This is a big market, right? This is $1.5 trillion market now in crypto. So ding, right? Like check. What are the risks? Well, the risks are still broadly regulatory risks, right? And for highly regulated institutions, they're not going to play games with that. But that seems to be getting clearer, or at least moving in that direction. So I think that some of the drivers there for that Wall Street adoption. At the same time, I do feel like there are sectors of crypto, particularly the DeFi sector, which are going to run kind of head on into regulations in a way that maybe some folks weren't ready for, weren't prepared for, hadn't thought that were going to be an eventuality. The FATF guidance that came out back, I think it was March or April, casts a very broad net. So, I think if folks are running DeFi apps or DeFi protocols, I think they're going to wake up and say, oh, okay, things are a little different now. I think we're going to have to switch, change the things that we're doing a little bit in order to comply. And then I think that does open up a broad question around, if you're going to regulate DeFi the same way you regulate CeFi, and CeFi has been around for 150 years and is very scalable and it's very robust and has a ton of capital behind it, you then start to wonder, well, okay, so how is DeFi going to compete if you level that regulatory playing field?
But as an investor in the space, Miguel, watching this or looking at the regulation coming in, what should you be thinking? Should you be concerned or hedging or pivoting?
I mean, if I'm investing in kind of crypto writ large, just broadly, I'm looking at folks who have their regulatory house in order, right? And that's I think that those are the bets that you want to make.
Gotcha.
I don't think it's prudent to, and look, depends on how you want to invest. If you're just investing a little bit here, a little bit there, but I wouldn't put large sums of money in a project that basically says, well, we're going to be decentralized, so regulations aren't going to matter. I think that stance is foolhardy, right? I mean, we've now watched governments trace ransomware BTC back to wallets. It's clear that, just because you're anonymous on a chat room or you're anonymous on Twitter, you're not really that anonymous, right? I would say that if you're going to put money down in crypto, I think a little regulatory due diligence around how folks are thinking about that is good.
Okay, I want to move on and talk about one of your areas of expertise right now, which involves gaming and blockchain. I want you to give me the lowdown on this. What do we need to know, and why is gaming so important when we're talking blockchain? Why do we need to?
Oh man, gaming. Yeah, no, it's a wonderful segue. I think at the moment, you can't go a day without reading about some gaming application, some gaming business kind of marrying crypto or blockchains and gaming. All of it really spawned by NFTs and the ability to have ownership of digital goods in a way that previously you weren't able to do. So what we're watching kind of in real time, and there's a few attempts out there now. One very popular game being Axie Infinity, is people try to marry games and crypto and see how it works. Right? There's a lot of very interesting experiments out there. I think where it ends up at maturity is virtual economies that act and feel very much like our real economies, because blockchains and crypto give you ownership, give you property rights in a way that previously wasn't possible, right? So kind of censorship resistance, if you will, around ownership, and is something that in a virtual world you couldn't do before. So when you start introducing rights in games, that starts to change the dynamics of these games, and it starts to possibly, touch wood, change the relationship between the developer, the publisher of the game, and the gamers. And it stops being I'm developer, I sell you digital good, you give me money, and more, you player are going to be a participant in this metaverse economy and metaversal economy, and I'm going to figure out a way to monetize that as a publisher or developer.
Okay, I need to ask you more questions here, because offline I was telling you my knowledge of gaming stopped at Grand Theft Auto. So please excuse my ignorance here, but it fascinates me. Okay, so Axie, this is a popular game. You're telling me, right? Okay, when you say that there's another economy that's being created, I would say, well, isn't one economy that we're actually living through torture enough? But in this metaverse, is it a decentralized system? Is there a federal, like, paint to me, what does it look like?
Yeah.
And what are the implications if you're living in a metaverse and the real world?
Mm-hmm. Man, that is a
Deep
yeah,
question.
that is a multi-layered question, Daniela. So I look, I think if we take Axie for a moment, it is decentralized-ish. I think like a lot of kind of layer two or like scaling solutions on Ethereum, there's a little bit of a trade-off between scalability and usability and trust, right? So I wouldn't say that Axie in particular is fully decentralized. That's just an opinion, right? And we can argue about what fully decentralized means. Right? I think that's a much broader conversation. But Axie is a first attempt at kind of marrying these two things. And it really, like, if I'm being honest, and this is not a dig on Axie in any way, shape, or form. I don't know those guys from a hole in the wall, but it seems to me like that is more of a trading speculative activity wrapped in a game, right? The challenge with marrying crypto and gaming is to make sure that the games are still fun by themselves because they're fun, right? Like, to your point, I don't want to go live in some metaversal economy that is super stressful. I got enough problems right here.
Well, that's
right?
what I'm saying, right?
Right. This is where the rubber meets the road with crypto and gaming. Can developers take tools that engender economic-like activity, but that actually enhances the experience of playing the games, not detracts from it?
Gotcha.
And that balance is going to be fascinating to watch them try, because that's the balance that needs to be struck. But now, like, the other challenge is, when we're talking about regulations, if you're in games, Axie is kind of considered a play to earn model, right? You're playing, and as you play, you're earning money. Well, if you're earning money, there are going to be tax consequences. If money's flowing through these games, there's KYC, AML, anti-terrorist consequences, right? So this is going to get very complicated very quickly, right? And I think folks, again, who I think in crypto gaming, number one, make sure the game's fun. Number two, make sure that you are thinking ahead with respect to regs and kind of monitoring money. And I think if you do those two things, you got a good shot.
Well, because I want to ask you, if there are tax implications, is this something that the feds are monitoring, or are there regulatory bodies watching this closely?
I don't think so yet, right? I mean, I think you're watching, I think, regulators and politicians kind of start to wrap their heads around what's happening.
Right.
And this isn't that big yet, right? Like,
right.
This is...
Well, that was the next question I have for you, because how big do you think this can get, this crypto meets gaming? Are we at the start? Are we in the middle? Where are we in this?
We are in the very, very inning. Like, we're in batting practice. Like, the game hasn't even started.
Okay, yeah. So we need to be paying attention to crypto and gaming here. Big time.
Big time. Well, look, gaming on its own is $150 billion a year business. It's bigger than movies and music combined, I think, by 2. So you marry that with this idea that crypto gives you property rights, and I think you can envision, virtual economies that are the size of some real economies.
So for the investor watching at home, how do you get ahead of this, and how can you make money in this space?
Well, I mean, I think in the short run, right, if you have like some real guts and you're willing to ride a lot of volatility, I think, there are some plays right now in the crypto world that are pure, like, you buy the Axie token, you could buy these tokens, right? That's one way to do it right now.
Where are they sold, Miguel? Are they on a what kind of platform are they sold on, or do you have to enter the game to buy these tokens? Where do you get them?
No. I think hold on, I'll tell you right now. I think most of them will be on like Binance. Coinbase may have some of them. So I think, traditional traditional crypto markets, if you will, if that's such a
Very
thing.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then broader, longer term, I think, you look at the gaming companies and see which one of the big ones are starting to adopt it.
All right.
And which ones are willing to take a chance.
This is fascinating to me, at least.
I think it's fascinating to all of us. I mean, it's all just happening, right?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, I'm happy that you're educating myself and our viewers on this. Just, I guess, final thoughts to bring it home, Miguel, taking broader picture here. I just want to get your thoughts. Like I said, you're a precious metals expert, you're a cryptocurrency expert, you're one of the brightest hybrids I know personally. So I just want to get your thoughts on what you're seeing in this, I want to say, gold market that's has been a snooze fest of late. And on the flip side, so much crazy volatility happening on the crypto space.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the story going forward, right? I mean, like crypto is still, what Bitcoin is now. I mean, if you go back to the Satoshi white paper, maybe 13 years old. Gold is, I don't know, 13,000 years old. I think you're going to still see that relative volatility gap. On the gold front, I have been surprised that the inflation trade hasn't given it more of a bounce. Clearly, we have some pretty significant inflation in these systems. The governments say, well, it's temporary, but all I hear is money printer go burr, as the kids in crypto say. So I am surprised that that gold hasn't seen more movement. I could sit here and speculate that, maybe some of the gold flows are moving into crypto, but who knows, right? I think, crypto has seen its fair share of downdrafts here in the last few months. Does seem to be holding in steady. But they do feel like two very different markets to me at the moment.
Well said. And I was thinking as you were speaking, I wonder if you could pay in gold in some of those games you mentioned.
Maybe
Probably not.
I don't know. Maybe one day. That would be interesting.
Right.
That would be interesting.
Finally, Miguel, are you having a good summer? It's our summer series. I got to ask you that question.
I am having a wonderful summer. I have enjoyed life slowly coming back to normal, which is great. It's lovely to go to a restaurant again. So yeah, that's a good summer. How about you? Are you enjoying the summer?
Hey, I'm still standing, right? I'm still here. So far so good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Canada. I'll be back in NYC soon, and I'll see you there, Miguel. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Daniela. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you so much for watching our summer series. We will have more incredible guests like Miguel coming here on StansberryInvestor.com. In the meantime, don't forget to sign up for free access to premier videos, special offers at DanielaCambone.com. That's it for me. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Daniela Cambone.